Hi guys, here's one of my favorite interviews between AKA the Freight Coach and Chief Information Officer Adam Riscoe. Enjoy.
All right. So we were talking with Tyler Britt recently about Bulk Container Group, and now I have Adam Riscoe on here today to talk about everything else that is exciting about this under the Nereus supply chain. And let's just dive right in. What is Nereus? What is its capabilities, and what is its mission?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. So Nearest Supply Chain Inc. is our global corporate and information technology focused company. And within Nearest Supply Chain Inc., we have Bulk Container Group, which is our global operations, right? Buying, selling, moving, tracking of shipping containers and maritime assets and freight for that matter too.
Okay.
So what Nearest Supply Chain, why we were created, right? Well, why we created the entity Nearest Supply Chain is because we want to do a lot of things, right? We understand that containers is just one small vertical of
Mhm.
our bigger strategy. Kind of the way Amazon started with books and they became the everything store. We're starting with shipping containers, and we want to be the everything supply chain company.
I love that. So what is it? So like with your guys' tech, now I'm assuming there's going to be a tech presence with this then. So let's get into that. What is it that like the value prop for Nereus is Nereus IO, right?
Yeah, so Nereus IO is our application, right? So it's at nereus.io. Right now, it's just an internal application, and we're
Okay.
using that for our global inventory. So we give our sales reps access to this global inventory that we're getting from our vendors, and we're scraping and we're getting direct feeds to API, and we have some workarounds. We're uploading spreadsheets and FTP servers and all that good stuff. And so we created a giant repository of all the world's off-hire containers, and we have about 55 plus million records. It ebbs and flows weekly, but
Jesus.
I'm sorry, 55,000.
Oh, I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that's a huge number.
someday we'll have 55 million. No,
No,
I lied. I'm
definitely.
sorry.
There's no
We have
doubt in my mind.
55,000 records that
Okay.
ebbs and flows. So on a good day, we could have upwards of 60,000 containers that are for sale somewhere in the world.
Okay. Explain explain what an API is and how it would benefit a general consumer from a like this is me. I've never heard of an API before, and you say that. How does that tie into my purchase of a container?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the APIs allow us to get real-time feed from our suppliers, our vendors. These are big, shipping companies, big
Hmm.
leasing companies. Management companies that have hundreds of thousands of containers in their fleet. So when they're ready to off hire, right, or liquidate or sell their containers, the way it used to work is they would send out emails, right?
Yeah.
You're a freight brokerage guy, right? We used to get those, here's the trucks and
Yeah.
all over that I have. Here's the loads I have all over. All right, we got to dig through your emails every day. So we took those, consolidated that, and now we have a giant list, right? Instead of onesie twosie emails that our sales rep have to go through. So then we said, all right, that's pretty good. Let's take it one step further. Let's go directly to the source. So we go to these steamship lines and leasing companies and say, hey, we've built a REST API. Can you connect your inventory or send us your inventory and feed it right into our system in real time? So anytime you make an update, right, whether that's price or availability, we display that in our inventory, in our
Gotcha. So
global catalog.
yeah, so it's almost like a stock market of shipping containers then, where you can see it's trading at like this today. It's, hey, the stock price just dropped $8 a container. Now that's our mark. Let's pop in there. Is there any way you can set alerts to where it's like, hey, my budget is, this is just not related to what a cost of a container would be. My budget's $1,000 a container. They're currently for sale at $100. Is there an alert system where if it drops down closer to your budget that for a consumer that there we go, they get notified for that?
Yeah, That is a great question. You're reading my mind a little bit, right? That's limit orders, right? And alerts. That's something we have in our backlog. That's at the top of our backlog.
For sure.
So we're currently building out the customer facing application, and right, it's going to be almost identical to the internal, a little bit sexier UI,
Yeah, of
and we'll have
course.
that inventory, and customers can pop them in their cart. It's a kind of an e-commerce, but we're B2B, right? So
Yeah,
it's not everyone can sign up,
for sure.
at least not yet.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Definitely.
yeah, we do have a long list of features that we want to implement, right? And some of them we're happy to offer for free. Some of them will probably be more of a premium
Yeah.
feature. So like, limit orders. Hey, I'll buy 12 containers in Phoenix, but only when they hit $1,000.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay. No, I like that, dude. So that's like, for any freight nerd out there, that's like a huge thing, especially because, if you're trying to turn that into an investment, you want to be able to see like you mentioned earlier, the ebbs and flows of it. You want to see like, hey, this is a historically low trading time for containers. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to
yes.
double down right now. I'm going to triple my order because I know I'm going to save, X% a purchase during this time.
Yeah, and there could be, you could take advantage of arbitrage opportunities, right? So maybe one market is really hot, and
Mhm.
containers are flying off the shelves, getting bid up, but then a couple hundred miles away, that market's ice cold,
Yeah.
and their containers are sitting. You can drop 220s on a 53-foot flatbed, drive them 100 miles, and make yourself a nice little profit.
No, definitely. And that's just such a freight broker market term right there. How it's like, you have a shipment picking up in Atlanta, Georgia that's paying $3 a mile, but all the way down in Savannah, it's $1 a mile outbound. It's insane how sometimes geographically as small as 100 miles makes such a difference from a purchasing power standpoint.
Yeah, and that's kind of a legacy feature of the secondary container market, right? It's pretty localized and maybe a little regionalized,
Yeah.
but there's not really anywhere to go to get a, a view of the whole market or all of the markets at once. And that's what we're trying to provide both for our internal sales team and eventually our big customers and buyers on the platform.
So is there a way right now with today's technology out there, if I wanted to buy containers, that I could go on and see a global view of what regions in the world are selling? I mean, because obviously containers are pretty much tied to port cities, so it's like, is there a way to go on there and see that? Or is that something that a value add that Nereus could bring that nobody else has?
Yeah, so that's what we're trying to do. We have yet to find it, right? We
Yeah,
searched, and that's why we're building it.
of course.
We started this company back in 2017 and wanted to find that that DAT, right, or that truckstop.com data, or sonar.
Yeah.
No one has that. So we said, I guess we'll have to build it. That's kind of when I came on and said, yeah, we could do that a couple of years. Here we are, a couple of years later, and we have a good internal product, and now we're starting to layer in that really cool BI data enhancements and making this thing a little bit smarter.
No, I love that. So what would you say is that like what Nereus is trying to achieve from an overall global standpoint? Is just the complete connectivity of containers across the worldwide market?
Yeah, so like I said, we're starting with containers, right? We
Yeah,
think of it as kind of building kind of a digital highway to help
of course.
facilitate information and goods and visibility and connectivity of shippers and BCOs and the providers. And
Okay.
whether we're the provider or not, right? We're trying to align ourselves on both sides, right? To kind of be that neutral party that can provide visibility to both sides, but also um, some anonymity to protect, right, their interests, so that it's not just public data floating out there and anyone can
Yeah.
come in and kind of smear someone or act on it nefariously. So
It's not
we're
going to
trying to
be
be
yeah, I got you.
trying to be
It's not
Switzerland.
No, definitely. I love it. Now, when you say that, because you've mentioned this a few times, you're starting with containers. When it comes to the next phase of expansion, is it from a coding or tech standpoint? Is it like plug and play then? It's essentially going in and changing the product to a new product? How would that work?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's labels on the screen. So we have our application is the inventory, right? The search, the cart feature, and then we
Yeah.
have our order management process in there as well. So it's just some tweaking around the edges. We've talked a lot about adding chassis as soon as we can. But we still have a lot to do with containers, right? Containers are
Yeah.
just big dumb steel boxes. There's a lot of
True.
things that we can add to them to make them smarter and to help our customers.
Oh,
But
definitely.
yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I don't want to say it's as simple as changing some ones and zeros. From a business standpoint, it's going to take some work to kind
Of
of
course.
change that sales mentality, different sales cycles. So.
No, definitely. It's like I'm a consumer though, so it's like I want to hear it's just do it. Yeah, like this is what I want, just do it. So
We have a button somewhere, so yeah, you just
I,
gotta press it.
where's the easy button, man? Um, so I'm my wheels are just spinning. So like when it comes to global connectivity and everything else, like to me that's huge. Is there a way? Is it like what about from a predictive standpoint? Is there going to be a way to predict that there's going to be an overflow or an influx in a certain market based off of what you guys have? And this might be a ways down the road for you guys, but is that something that is predictive software going to be a part of it?
Yeah, so that's something that's on our radar. That's in the near term, right? We break ideas and features into kind of three categories: the now, the next, and the future.
Mm-hmm.
So the things we're doing now is really laying the foundation for the next, right? And the next is going to be this much higher.
Yeah.
And then the future, right? Those are kind of ideas. Those are not necessarily out there radical ideas, but maybe technology hasn't caught up to our crazy thinking. But as far as being able to predict markets, that's something that we are now laying the groundwork for. We're doing a lot of data science and analytical projects that are kind of just in their infancy, started a couple of weeks ago, really in earnest, and that is laying the foundation for determining things like market demand, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we got to figure out the demand and the supply, and
Yeah.
then we gotta kind of narrow that in and get to that point. So it's we'd love to have that, right? Who wouldn't love to tell the future?
True.
We can
From
make a
like,
lot of money if we could just
oh,
see
Jesus.
90 seconds into the future.
I know, right? Jesus, man. What would you say, like from a base level consumer standpoint, of somebody who would be like, "Oh, what's Nereus here?" What would it compare to?
What does Nereus compare to? So our customers are they're larger businesses or medium-sized businesses that play in the secondary container market, right?
Yeah,
Tyler was on fabrication, storage, you know, homes. So Nereus, for them, and this is maybe kind of a antiquated analogy, but right in the first rollout's going to be it's like the Sears catalog, right? We're giving these. Sears was great business model. They shipped their catalog everywhere across the
yeah,
United States. That was the first time consumers in rural Kansas in the turn of the century had access to 50 pages of products. It was the Amazon.
yeah. It's game
Um,
changing.
it was, right. I mean, that's how small towns got. People bought homes off of there. Before that, they just didn't have access to all these goods and services, and this market was underserved. So we
Hmm.
think our customers, even though we feel like we do a good job serving our customers, it's still kind of an underserved market here in North America. So it's an evolution, and the first step is giving them the catalog, getting them an order platform, and that should open up, right, new ideas for them. It should give them access to newer markets,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, it's very regionalized. So if you're in St. Louis, you're mainly looking at vendors in St. Louis. Are you looking in Kansas City, other side of the state? Maybe not, probably
Yeah.
not. But with Nearest.io, we allow our customers to view all of Missouri. So if they want to start breaking into the St. Louis or the Kansas City market, we give them that option. If they want to start breaking into Houston, they can start buying in Houston. So
Okay.
we want them to expand their business as well.
I got you. It's yeah. So people would think that it would be more connected than it currently is being served from a container and then like a visibility standpoint. I know some people within transportation think that it should just be complete visibility 24/7, and that's just not the case. Like,
No.
because people take overall technology as a whole that we use on a day-to-day and expect it to be that way across everything. And it's not just supply chain, shipping, transportation. That's across anything and everything, even down to like a manufacturer or heck, even, I mean, I don't know, man, certain bookstores out there, you'd think that they would have technology in place, but it's not as readily available and accessible and even feasible for most companies to implement.
Yeah. So I think it's especially in the transportation, logistics, supply chain industries. I wouldn't say most companies or most players have neglected this digital transformation that's happening elsewhere, but it's now finally starting to come to fruition. A lot more research and investment is piling into supply chain. I think it's still a lot of low-hanging fruit out there,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are taking advantage of it. Right, our former employer. I don't know if we're allowed to say their name.
It's
It
fine.
begins with an X, ends with an O.
Yeah, exactly.
They came in, and that's where I got my start in
Yeah.
in supply chain technology. Before that, I was an operations and analyst guy. So, Brad Jacobs came in, made a huge investment in technology, and it seems to be paying off for him. So
No, definitely. And I mean, that's the thing though, is the proof is in the data. Like the proof is in there, and that's how that's how most industries make their high level decisions, is based off of historical data and predictive data for the future. And I don't think that people really understand that, and really being able to help navigate through the high and low seasons of any market is done with data, So it's like, from an overall, like, what is everything going to be based off of your guys' website, or how am I going to, like, why can I just pull up my iPhone right now, iPhone 7? I don't believe in investing in technology that much. Can I pull up my cell phone right now, and will there be a Nearest app that I can go and purchase my, containers from wherever? Is that going to be part of this rollout for the future here?
it's not out of the question. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
So in iOS or Android, mobile app, it's something we have identified. So
For
we
sure.
we keep a long list of ideas. It's our backlog. We use Agile to develop all of our products, and since you're not familiar with it, it's kind of a methodology for developing products fast. And you
Gotcha.
write everything down and you put it in a backlog of ideas. And as those kind of bubble to the top, we pick them out and work on them. So yeah, a mobile app is not out of the question right now. It is kind of that cloud app,
For
right? So
sure.
the
Yeah.
web app. We'll see how it goes, right? We're looking to have that out here in Q4 and open it up to the broader business market.
Okay.
And part of that agile development process or methodology is getting feedback early and
Yeah.
often. So you might put, it's called a minimum viable product out there. So we're going to give our customers the minimum viable product. To us is that catalog and order management. So I want to place an order, I'll be able to edit an order, download invoice, download releases, do some some light data analytics
Yeah.
maybe on what I'm buying. But for the most part, it's very basic. But that's just the beginning, right? You gotta start somewhere.
No,
So we want
definitely.
to get it out, get it used, see what people like, see what they don't like, do what they want. So
So let's talk about, I want you to walk me through the steps that are going to be here. And I want to say I'm looking to buy a container or multiple containers right now. I want you to walk me through how I would go and utilize Bulk Container Group, how it's tied into Nereus, and really how that whole transaction would look.
yeah, yeah. So first of all, you would take right Freight Coach LLC and
Perfect.
send us your EIN, register, become a client and partner of
Okay.
Bulk Container Group, and we'll set you up with an account rep. We'll probably give you Tyler, right? Tyler's fantastic, you know him,
Yeah.
and we'll get you on the app and give you the kind of the 5 minute highlights walkthrough. We think it's super intuitive, right? If you've ever used a e-commerce site, it's just like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's designed to be very user friendly and familiar.
Of
So
course.
you would put in your search parameters, or you can scroll. You can scroll through all 55,000 containers if you want to. There's 80 some odd pages of
Okay.
containers in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you put in your filters, right? U.S., Arizona, and size, condition requirements, and we return those results for you.
Okay.
And you would pick from that list, right? A lot of customers have preference on depots that are easier to work with, pull out of. Sometimes in a city like Phoenix, right, might have 3 depots, and say two are kind of in the Phoenix proper metro area, and one might be way out by the airport or
Yeah.
out in the middle of nowhere. So wherever you're located, right, you have kind of a depot preference, and you'd request those containers. Because not all of our vendors are on a real-time API connection with us, we
Yeah.
do have to have some manual steps to verify that inventory is still there. So
Of
we'll
course.
go out, quickly verify with our partners, make sure it's still there. We're updating it daily, so there's a high probability that inventory will be there.
Okay.
But we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah, I feel you
So
there.
no. So yeah, verify, send you back your quote or invoice depending on the pricing, and from there you could download it. We're hoping to have a credit card processing feature in our first rollout. If not, right, we kind of do the whole bank wire song and dance
Gotcha.
outside of the system currently.
Yeah.
Once we verify the payment, right, we'll get you that release as soon as possible, and that goes in the app. You'll get a notification that the release is available, and you just go to the app, download it, and that's it, right? At the end of the day, right, we want to know container number. We want to know that you were satisfied. Little short questionnaire at the end.
Yeah.
How much did you like working with us? How much did you like working with that depot? How was the condition of that container? If we told you it was new one trip, and you go and pick it up and it's rusted to hell and filled with holes, right? We want to know that. We like to pride ourselves on customer service, and we don't want the app to be a barrier to feedback. So
Okay. So could I buy a container and get same day delivery?
oh, I mean, I don't think it's out of the question.
Okay.
I think it depends at the speed.
Yeah.
Really, the big limitation, or a limitation that we run up against, is just the financial system, right? The
For sure.
banking. Wires take a couple business days on both ends.
Yeah.
That's probably the longest part of the process. This process used to be weeks and days longer, right, and
Yeah.
more manual. We've shortened it significantly just through the app, right, and are able to generate invoices versus having to manually create them in QuickBooks. We already have the inventory information, so we've sped up the process we think, significantly since just rolling out the app in March internally. The customer side of it now, we think will double the speed, right? There's no more emailing back and forth with the customers. Hey, we have this. Oh, that doesn't work. Okay, here's another option for you. They can go out and self-serve. That should, knock out another couple hours to a couple days. Even.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So,
Especially if you get the visibility of the entirety of your inventory and you're not
yes.
sitting there searching through multiple different platforms. It's not like it's a here, click here, and then go to our like your customer's customer and all that. So I love the centralized inventory system that you guys have in place here. And from a visibility point too, like knowing that I'm here in Phoenix, if I want to buy 20 containers, I know that the 3 vendors you guys have, or whatever number that is of vendors that are around, I can physically know that they're all like, I can get them within a week, like whatever number that is, your wire's going to go through transportation, offload, all of that. Realistically, you can get them within a couple of days, probably from a,
Yeah.
Is that an accurate statement? Or do you think like worst
Oh
case?
yeah, I mean.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. The like I mentioned, right, the banking and banking regulation that's there for a good reason
Obviously.
in most cases, right? So that's the limitation, right? We are one of the few providers that offer credit card processing. Granted we're gonna kind of apply that fee, but we're constantly searching for the lowest credit card processing fee out there.
Mhm.
We've gone through a couple vendors now just chasing that low fee, because that is something that our customer has said has been a huge benefit to them, right? Not only does it speed up your transaction, you can have your airline miles, right? It's business, it's so many wins. It cuts probably 3 days off the front end of waiting on the bank transfers, mailing a check. So I mean, there's credit opportunities too. We have some larger customers. We don't really talk about it often, but
No, for sure.
there's opportunities to speed it up, and that's the goal, is to speed up this transaction, make it as easy as possible for our customers and our vendors, right? So instead of the vendors having 50 people call them in a market over the same 3 or 4 containers, it's a one-stop shop for them too. So it's bringing kind of both fragmented sides together, centralizing it, and being that intermediary to facilitate a speedy and successful, secure transaction.
I love that. I love that stuff. I'm such a nerd when it boils down to it, because it's like,
It's good business.
no, it really is. I mean,
Yeah.
and then especially having an opportunity to come in and really write the script per se, or write the software out, and then knowing that there's like, yes, is there other stuff out there? Of course, but it's not centrally focused. And that to me is what it seems like is what Nereus's overall objective is. It's a centrally focused technology based towards shipping containers and that network throughout the supply chain, and then having that be the base starting point. We're only going to evolve. And you've identified that already. Like, this is where we start, but this is our vision for the future.
Oh yeah, I mean, our 3, 6, 12-month roadmap is, we don't really pivot from it, but it's always kind of growing, right? So, hey, we want to do this in 6 months. Okay, well, where can that get us in another 6 months? So we try to get together in person. We're 100% remote for the most part. There's a couple guys in Charlotte, but for the most part, we're spread out globally. So when we do get together about once a quarter, we're constantly thinking, how can we set ourselves up, in 3 months? What will that lead to in 6 months? And how can we provide, more opportunities and more value to our customers off of that in an additional 6 months? So that's kind of that now, next, future that I mentioned earlier. So.
Okay. No, I like that. Trying to think here. You mentioned, so bulk logistics. That was a piece that you were talking about earlier before we started kind of going through it. Like, so let's talk about that. Bulk logistics. What is its primary focus?
Yeah, so Bulk Logistics is it's part of Bulk Container Group.
Mm-hmm.
It is our 3PL, our freight brokerage arm that we're going to get up off the ground here in the next couple months. And coming from a world where, right, 75% of our leadership team comes from transportation, right? Kind of
Yeah.
your 53-foot dry vans, pick it up, drop it off, freight brokerage world. So we thought long and hard, do we want to put ourselves through that again? And we said maybe, right? It's pretty
Yeah.
lucrative, but we thought, how can we do it to kind of be symbiotic with our container business?
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily want to go after the paper and the water and the lumber
Yeah.
loads. We want to be able to run these containers, whether that's full of freight, whether it's empty. I think I mentioned kind of some arbitrage opportunities earlier. So that would help facilitate some of that. A lot of our customers are trucking companies and they own their own trucks and they have their own fleet and their own drivers. So they'll go pick up a lot of their own loads.
Yeah.
But we've noticed too, a lot of times, right? That's not the best use of their assets, right? Their trucks, their chassis, their human resources, their drivers,
Yep.
right? So they could send a driver into the depot and they pay him, his rate no matter what. He might be sitting at the depot for, 4 or 5 hours, negotiate it, right? Kind of there's some horse trading, some dog and pony show on
Yeah.
the depot side. You send drivers into ports, what can happen there.
Oh yeah.
Depots are kind of just like mini ports.
Okay.
There could be issues. So now you're tying up your resource and asset for half a day when they can be running actual loads. So, if we can provide another opportunity for our customers to, maximize their revenue on their existing assets and get new assets, right? New containers, and not have to, pay an arm and a leg to go pick it up with, some unknown dray entity somewhere.
No,
We want to kind of
definitely.
do the same thing, right? Provide that one-stop shop, make it easier for our customers to, from time of picking out the container to the time it hits their door. So.
No, definitely. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. You guys have identified your niche, obviously, through Bulk Container Group. Nereus is tied in through Bulk Container Group, and now with Bulk Logistics, that is, like you said, to be your one-stop shop. The paper trail, essentially, it can start and stop all within the same umbrella. And that is very
Exactly.
appealing to a lot of people out there, is knowing that, hey, I just purchased 35 containers from Bulk Container Group. I viewed all of that inventory off of Nereus.io. I've purchased it, and now I have an ability to facilitate the transportation of those containers from the purchasing origin to my facility here at the destination, all through one place. Now, with that being said, is there going to be multiple invoices for that, or is it one transaction across the board and you guys have it all fall under your umbrella?
Yeah. So, that's a great question, right? The value add to our customer is the single invoice, right? So, yeah, they're not having to, check paper down and,
Okay.
it also brings up a great point. If you're buying 35 containers in a market, you might not be able to source them all from a single vendor. And
Yeah.
that's where Nereus comes in again, right? We can get you all 35 containers, and transportation for all of them, and repair, right? Maintenance, storage, whatever you need. That's all going to come on one invoice. Right, so you get that one piece of paper and you can view it online. You can, kind of manage the due dates and everything. So that's the value add for our customers. And then for our vendors, right, we're putting together the puzzle pieces for them and the customer, so that they're not having to deal with 4 or 5 different customers and their
Exactly.
transportation providers. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It essentially is there from a vendor standpoint. Nereus.io gives them a farther outreach to potential customers through your guys' platform that they wouldn't get if they just tried to go out and do this all on their own. So to me, it's like if I have an inventory base of 1,000 shipping containers that are just sitting out here. I can go through Nereus.io, post those on there, and that's going to have a global outreach to the potential customers that could be purchasing this.
Yes, and what some people forget, and even sometimes we get so caught up in what we're doing, right,
Yeah.
is that our vendors, selling their containers is not their primary business, right? Their
Yeah.
primary business is putting other people's freight in these containers
Mm-hmm.
and moving it around the world for them. Selling it is, I wouldn't say a last resort for them, but it is something to help out, right? Their balance sheets, to help them, kind of reposition units. So maybe they have an abundance of containers in Chicago. We all know the freight market, right? In
Yeah.
Chicago, outbound is hard. So, we can reposition those for them, or we could sell them for them. And what's going to be the biggest bang for their buck there? So
I
that's
love that.
what we offer our vendors as well.
That's perfect. I mean, having that total visibility, one-stop shop, and especially in an emerging market, which is that of shipping containers, is something that it's blowing up in popularity across the board, and positioning yourself as kind of the trailblazer of that. I mean, that's going to be huge. I'm so pumped to see what is going to happen with like the whole umbrella, not just Nereus, bulk logistics, bulk container. I'm pumped about this because I just, in speaking with you guys, I know where this is going to go. Like, I know there's no proof in the pudding yet, but what you like, the team that's assembled, the people that are there, the experience and the knowledge is a massive separator.
Yeah.
Massive separator.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, we're so excited. I mean, every day it's a pleasure working on this stuff. You mentioned the team, right? We're all super passionate about this, and really, like you mentioned, right? It's still the early stages.
Mm-hmm.
We've been in the container trading business for a little over 3 years, but we've the the software and the systems we have in place have really only been around for, oh geez, right, less than 6 months now, and we see the proof, right, already just on this
Yeah.
very small scale. So we're excited. We have a lot of irons in the fire. Releasing the internal system, we've seen our sales reps capacity for sales
Yeah.
increase significantly. We said they kind of capped out at let's call it $250,000 a
Mm-hmm.
month in sales through the manual method. We're close to doubling that with just
That's
the
nice.
implementation of our internal sales
Yeah.
system. So
I love it. And I can just tell that you guys are not going to be afraid to pivot either. Like, you guys aren't that company that is like, this is the way we're going to do it, and you guys need to adapt to us. It's no. We're going to take the feedback. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to take
yeah,
the feedback that the consumer is giving us, and we can tailor it towards what the overall consensus is.
yeah. I mean, we think we have a way that we're moving forward, right?
Yeah.
But we all know that we don't know anything. So
That's
we're definitely not afraid to pivot. Hopefully we don't have to do any major pivots, but we,
Yeah,
on the
maybe pivoting was a bad term, but it's just more of, hey, like, our product, like, here's the overall viewpoint of what we are wanting to accomplish. But if there is a lot of feedback that comes in that isn't necessarily under our thought, our whatever you want to call it, our thought tree. I just made
yeah,
that up, but
I like
like,
that.
we're able to rearrange that. Like, we're open to it. It's not, this is our vision, this is what we're sticking to. You're going to take, that feedback, and you're willing to make those small, minute changes if necessary.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all about value add is
There we
the
go.
name of the game.
Yeah.
As long as we're adding value to the process, to our customers, to our partners, that's whatever adds the most value. That's where we need to be, right? There's a million problems out there with supply chain and logistics. We can't fix them all right yet. So we'll focus on fixing the ones that that we can control,
Mhm.
and whatever the market is asking for, and willing to pay us to do, we'll do that for them.
Love it. I love it. Adam, I think that's a great spot for us to end right there, bud.
Yeah.
Honestly, like that's good, man. I'll stop recording right now.